one of those indie pop rock groups that got a lot of attention from mainstream publications early on, and initially I kind of wrote them off. I must admit, I didn't really see a lot of potential in what they were doing, but then their last album from 2018, I got to it really late in that year as well, and somehow it just really clicked for me. I find it to be such a little charming pop album. You have the fantastic track Linda, and then wow, what a song that is, by the way. What a song that is, by the way. I have to halt myself here to just to talk about that song. Beautiful, beautiful little track, honestly overlooked for like kind of like ballad type songs for the 2010s. What a great track. The whole album was just this really, really cute lo-fi little thing where the vocals were completely off in terms of mixing, the way they just kind of like blurted out in such a strange way somehow ended up working in its favor. A rare example of where, you know, you can kind of get away with poor recording techniques and, you know, it works for the songs. I find it really weird whenever I think about this album because it shouldn't work and yet it did for me. So based on that last album, I Don't Run, I was definitely excited for this one. I was interested to see where they take their sound, and you can clearly see that there's been a little bit of a progression in terms of the recording techniques that they've used this time around. Sure, it's still got its lo-fi spots, but I think generally you don't have those kind of like bursts of vocals coming out of nowhere. And what I really like is that, yeah, I haven't lost that charm. There is still that charming essence to this album because the vocalists just come together in such a great way. Like, they aren't the best in terms of like, I guess, skill or technically, you know, great voices, but they make it work. I love it when an artist can just make it work with what they've got. They're using what they've got and it works. One of their best tracks to date and one of my favorite songs, I think, of the year so far. The more I listen to it, the more I'm realizing how replayable it is. The opening track, Good Bad Times, such a summery little tune here. It's like the definitive indie pop song for the year so far, I think. It's got such a great tune at the core of it. The lyrics about, you know, how you're losing someone is now turning those good times into bad times, having them not there. And the one line on the chorus as well about how that person isn't sleeping with her, so those good times are gone. But it's such a likable track for me, like the way the chorus comes in, the really nice guitar playing as well. It goes a little bit faster than that, by the way, but it's still a great little track. The track following it as well has this kind of like nursery rhyme-ishness to the chorus. Another good track too, really shining through with the colorness of these tracks. Like, it's kind of crowded with the amount of instruments that they're throwing in at once, and the vocals kind of like attack each other in a weird little way. There are so many sing-along choruses on this album too, like on Boy. Really love that track, especially again on the chorus. When the chorus hits on some of these songs, they really just shine through and make you realize, damn, these guys know how to just make an earworm. It's just a constant flush of happy tunes, and even though occasionally it gets a little gimmicky, I think, like on Riding Solo, that, you know, I think that's a term that's gotten used a bit too much in music in general, just riding solo. Jason Derulo, of course. And then those rare moments, which is something that I don't think you got on their last album, but here there's these like rare times where it gets a little overbearing with how sugary some of these tracks are. I mean, maybe the cover art of this album really demonstrated that it was going to be this kind of album anyway, because it is just like a flash of color. But I don't know, I think even still with that, they're still penning some really great tracks. There's no heartfelt ballads like Linda on this album here, which they gave us on their last album. To be fair, it was a great moment that I think they may have benefited from using here, because the final track does go a bit slower, but it just doesn't really hit that same way. It kind of like slows down the momentum, feels a bit out of place. And as well, the album is only 33 minutes long, so it never exactly overstays its, you know, welcome or anything, but maybe they could have extended it with a few other tracks that just add in a little bit more variety here and there throughout the track list. But I'm so happy with what they do in general, to be honest. They're just so adorable. They're just so adorable and charming. It's hard to say no to them. as singers. I really love the way that they just offer what they've got in the way that they do. With them being from Spain, there are a couple of moments actually where you hear that Spanish influence in some of the tracks, which I actually think might be a kind of like predeterminer, sort of like a next step for them. You know, maybe their next album could explore a little bit more of that, because those tracks actually offered some really nice moments, to be fair. But I definitely want to see them take that and run with it even further. Also, with them being from Spain, there is that occasional language barrier that pops through. You can tell in the way that they sing and slur some of their words. I think it just adds to everything that they do. But yeah, I think overall it's really nice. It's a nice summery little album here. Come at the right time of year, and I'm gonna go 7 out of 10. I think I like their last album a little bit more, but there's still so many great tracks on here. Like I've already said, Good Times, Good Bad Times, what a track that is. And hopefully you check it out, because I don't feel like many of the music nerds or many YouTube critics would even touch this. But I think they're pretty overlooked in that sense. Thank you for watching my review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on this album. Have a good day. Goodbye. Subscribe and goodbye. Have a good day. Goodbye.